Welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Ian from the Klipboard Managed Services team, and I'm joined this afternoon by Max from JCOM, a leading Microsoft solutions partner. Today is all about helping you deliver secure, high-performing Microsoft environments which you can trust. At Klipboard, protecting your Microsoft estate is our top priority. With our carefully chosen security partners, we help spot and block threats before they become business risks. From Azure design, migration, and optimization to Microsoft 365 licensing, governance, and cost control, we make sure you get the very best cloud experience, secure, efficient, and cost-effective. And as your trusted ERP experts, we can now bring everything together. One specialist team, one seamless Microsoft and ERP experience. In today's session, we'll introduce Klipboard Managed Services and explore why cloud adoption has become essential for modern businesses. We'll break down the 5 key pillars of cloud success, showing how we can help you build secure, scalable, and cost-effective environments. And you'll hear some real-world success stories that demonstrate measurable business impact before we look at how Azure empowers innovation, performance, and growth. We'll close by outlining how Klipboard and Microsoft continue to support you at every stage of your cloud journey, helping you move forward with confidence, clarity, and a trusted team by your side. In 2024, Kerridge Commercial Systems acquired Accenter, a Microsoft partner comprising of a team of ERP and Microsoft accredited experts focused on helping customers do 4 things with their Microsoft estate: reduce risk, improve performance, strengthen security, and control costs. But what does this mean to you as a Klipboard customer? Well, you've always trusted Klipboard for ERP. Now you can trust us with your entire IT estate in the cloud. Accenter is now known as Klipboard Managed Services. Our purpose is to design and build modern cloud systems tailored to your needs. We can extend your current IT team in a co-managed model or run operations fully on your behalf. Either way, we reduce risk, accelerate delivery, and give you predictable outcomes. We have the expertise to spot and block threats via our carefully chosen software partners. Helping to protect your Microsoft estate is our priority, but we have the tools to make sure the full cloud estate is secure, reducing the risk to your business. We provide Azure design, migration, and optimization. We make sure you have the best possible cloud environment, ensuring the end users have the best possible experience. We manage Microsoft 365 licensing, governance, and user lifecycle. We help to reduce those unexpected costs for your business. We've always been your trusted experts in optimizing ERP1, and now we're here to help support you on other key workloads that you need to run in Azure. Instead of working with multiple suppliers, Klipboard gives you a single team of specialists to ensure your ERP and Microsoft environments deliver one seamless, exceptional experience. We're Microsoft Cloud Solutions Partner and hold the qualifications to build secure, high-performing, cost-optimized Azure environments. We hold the Solutions Partner accreditations for both Azure and security. That means that you can trust us. And we only achieve these credentials by being good at what we do. We have to prove it. The team consists of background-checked, certified engineers who provide 24/7, 365 incident response and managed detection and response. These certifications, which Klipboard hold, also allow us to tap into Microsoft funding options too, enabling assessments and proof of concept projects before major investments are needed. This is a significant value add for you, and we'll go into this in more detail in a moment. Klipboard helps businesses migrate from physical servers to Microsoft Azure for better performance, security, resiliency, and cost effectiveness. We can manage the entire migration end to end or support your IT team. Klipboard guides customers to avoid trial and error, designed for current and future needs, and aligns costs with delivered value. We have the experts who have guided many organizations through similar journeys. Through Microsoft partnerships, Klipboard can often access Microsoft-funded workshops or proof of concept projects, reducing those upfront costs for you too. Azure migration from Klipboard is about building a secure, scalable, and cost-optimized environment tailored to your needs with expert support and funding options available. Klipboard doesn't just support ERP systems though. We help customers bring all kinds of applications to the cloud. With Azure, you can get a secure, modern platform optimized for Windows 365, and even legacy applications can be migrated without forcing immediate replatforming too. Azure Virtual Desktop lets you run ERP and non-ERP applications in a Windows 11 and Microsoft 365 environment, giving you security, resilience, and performance built in. And we've been delivering this at scale for thousands of users for over a decade now. We're here to help protect your business from identity-based threats too. At Klipboard, we use best-in-class email security to block malicious mail before it reaches your end users. Our software and teams monitor these threats 24/7, 365, ensuring continuous protection. And if something does slip through the net, we can make sure that your staff are trained to spot and respond to phishing attempts through ongoing education and simulated attacks too. Finally, we can provide detailed reporting so you know exactly where the risks are and how well your organization is protected. It's about peace of mind and proactive defense for the organization and brand. We can also help you get the most out of Microsoft 365. Microsoft licensing can be confusing and costly, and it's always changing. So we focus on license optimization and subscription management to eliminate waste and reduce costs for you too. We also streamline processes like onboarding and offboarding through automation, freeing up IT teams for that higher value work which they can do. Beyond cost control, we strengthen security, ensure compliance, and prepare businesses for the future with data governance and readiness for AI and Copilot, which everybody's talking about right now. In short, Klipboard make Microsoft 365 simpler, smarter, and more cost-effective for you. Klipboard Managed Services is a fully managed environment that can include cybersecurity, backup, and hosting for all applications, all integrated with Microsoft 365. You can benefit from a dedicated environment, virtual desktops, and a complete business workspace for your end users. In short, it's scalable, secure Microsoft Cloud solution designed to run ERP and other applications seamlessly with Klipboard as your single trusted partner. Now over to Max.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, great bit of insight there. Nice to be here today. Thanks for having me on. So, for everyone in the call, my name's Max Chamberlain. I work for a company called Geocom. We are the indirect provider for Klipboard in both Microsoft and other vendors as well. So what I'm going to be doing today is looking from the Azure perspective and giving a bit of context around why we should be looking at that for everything from small to medium to 25 level companies around the UK and the globe. So we can go on to the next slide, please. So who are we and what do we do? Geocom, we are the largest and fastest growing Microsoft indirect provider in the UK. For a little bit of context on what an indirect provider is, we sit between Microsoft and other vendors and your strategic partners such as Klipboard, and we provide those licenses as well as a lot of value add such as kind of increased support levels. We have partnerships in terms of our practice model. So I sit within the Azure practice here at Geocom. We have a number of practices that kind of support Klipboard and the great work that they do. Klipboard are one of our strategic partners, so they sit within the top percentile of our partner base here. Therefore, we have a lot of aligned head with them, myself being one of them, and other heads around the business from a kind of Microsoft, modern work, Copilot, security perspective as well, so we can help Klipboard in anything they need support on from that side of things. We also both provide free optimization assessments and cloud FinOps tools as well via ourselves for free to allow you to firstly and upfront minimize your costs within the cloud to make sure that you're getting the most value for your money, but also cloud FinOps tools which allow you to live monitor and kind of look at historical and forecast costings on your cloud environments too. We have first line and priority support with Microsoft, which gives us the ability to do the kind of initial triage and kind of support piece with Klipboard, but also then gain kind of high level access to the Microsoft support unit when things do go wrong and need their help. And we have capabilities expanding across all Microsoft products, plus our other vendors across the security, backup, and disaster recovery landscape as well. Next slide, please. So when I started this role many years ago, the cloud was the future, which was exciting to get into. We hit 2020, the cloud became real. The cloud became essential for a lot of companies. We're now in a place where the cloud is now part of business. It's not a future anymore. It's not a a roadmap item. It is that piece that is essential, in my opinion, for all companies to allow them to make the most of what they have in their IT infrastructure. First and foremost, let's have a look through the options here. So firstly, digital transformation. A lot of companies have already started making that progress into the cloud, whether it's all in or whether it's a hybrid environment they're looking at. What we're really trying to encourage companies to do now, especially with the good work that Klipboard are doing, is look at that digital transformation piece. How can we use your cloud environment and the great technology available in there to help you stay competitive, to make the most of your data, involve things like AI, which is far more common than it was kind of a year or two ago, into your IT kind of systems to make the most of them, whether that's just in your Microsoft stack or whether it's kind of integrating across other areas as well. Data demands, data is the one thing that always grows within every business. And the great thing about data these days is the advent of so many different systems to help you kind of deal with that increasing data, not just storing it, but also kind of making sure that you're getting the most value out of it. So archiving and paying less for the less needed data. But that data you do have is how can we help you, and how can Klipboard help you kind of make the most of that and analyze it and use it to make really driven, intelligent decisions for your business. AI and automation, it's part and parcel of every conversation these days. It's there, it's not going away, and it is growing at a phenomenal rate. The real successes we're seeing are great at the moment around how companies are starting to integrate AI into their businesses and automation. It seems a lot more complex and kind of daunting than it really should do, I think, because it's some very simple things that can be achieved through agents and whatnot to really kind of help push forward and really make efficiencies very apparent within end customers. And then hybrid cloud models. There's a lot of people out there that think, it's cloud or on-premise or cloud or private cloud. It's not necessarily one or the other. It's about making that decision to kind of put in the cloud what needs to be in the cloud. If there are use cases for things being elsewhere, the hybrid model is a highly kind of recommended approach. It gives you resiliency, it gives you ability to make the most of the resources you have. So it's not all about being everything within Azure. That's not the way we want to push things. Microsoft as well are very hybrid first as a provider, and we want to enable you to have that flexibility by integrating your on-premise environments and your cloud resources into a very agile business operation. Next slide, please. So what are the key drivers for cloud adoption in today's companies? Firstly, cost optimization. The first challenge we often get from end customers is we're not sure about the cloud. We've heard it's more expensive. It's a very common objection, and there are reasons behind this. The first reason is misconception. The reason for that misconception is that people often look at what they've got on an on-premise environment or a private cloud environment and look at how that would look like for like in the cloud. And that's not always the case, and it rarely is the case, to be honest, because migration to the cloud is about optimizing it from a technical perspective. Look at what you've got at the moment. If you've got an on-premise environment, you've kitted out for what you might need in the future. Whereas the cloud is you kit yourself out for what you need there and then, and you're paying for what you need there and then, and you only ever pay for what you need at any given point. So your scalability, your flexibility in that environment always matches exactly what you need to have, and therefore your costs do as well. So you can lower your infrastructure expenses and also then build in other cost optimization options such as reservations, where you can commit to certain aspects and bring those costs down further and further. myself and the team at Klipboard work very hard to make sure that all areas of any customer environment is completely optimized, and continually monitor that to make sure that there are optimization processes always in place to bring down those costs. And it's not about saving money all the time, it's about freeing up those IT budgets really to help invest in the things that you might need elsewhere. So whether it's increased security, which is prominent these days in terms of conversation, or AI licensing, etc., under Copilot or whatever it is, we can help kind of maximize your budgets for those wider picture things. Scalability and flexibility, like I said, it's there in the cloud. Things are available at the click of a button, and your ability to scale your environment up or down, depending on workloads, whether it's seasonal or whatever, is extremely simple. And road mapping and planning for those can be extremely effective to make sure you manage your costs effectively. Security and compliance, I will go to the grave that this is a real kind of challenge. Sometimes we see people don't trust the cloud, and it's natural. We don't see it, we don't understand it fully sometimes, but the security and compliance built into Azure as a platform is second to none. Microsoft is a kind of cloud security vendor in its own right. They are up there in the top 3 in terms of security vendors in the world, and that's according to external companies like Gartner Magic Quadrant. And Azure is the only public cloud built and managed by a security vendor. Therefore, as you can imagine, the physical and cybersecurity systems built in are second to none. And then finally, innovation and global reach. The cloud enables rapid innovation. It really puts you on the forefront of what your abilities are. You can start very simply with some storage and some compute, etc. But your abilities from that point on to roadmap of what can we do with this in the future? Where can we take this? And it's always a journey to be going on. There's always something that you can improve, whether it's data or AI, or just kind of simplifying your processes within those to make your company more efficient and agile. Next slide, please. So, the core benefits of Azure. There are multiple public clouds out there, as we all know. We've got Azure from Microsoft, we've got AWS from Amazon, we've got Google Cloud Platform from Google, we've got Alibaba as well, and multiple other kind of smaller ones too. So what are the core benefits of Azure? And looking at the 5 pillars here of modern cloud success, we can go on to the next slide. Firstly, that pay-as-you-go model. I mentioned this before. The key to the cloud is you're paying for what you need at any given point. When you have increases, decreases, seasonal demands, you can flex and kind of optimize your environment to make sure you're paying for what you need at any given point. And that gives you complete control over your budgets, and you can move away from that upfront upfront capital expenditure model of the on-premise environment to that operational expenditure model to give you much more flexibility and ability to kind of forecast much more simply in terms of those costs. Right sizing options. Again, things do change. What you've got on premise will likely not be right size because you're building out your on-premises environment to match what you might need in the future, to what you might need in the seasonal demand. And a lot of the time, those things are not turning on and off, or kind of flexing up and down, because that's not really doable with an on-premises environment. Within the cloud, within Azure, that is perfectly possible, and it's actually part of the process to make that do that as standard. We make sure things are right sized for resource allocation, make sure it's efficient, lower those costs, free up your budgets, and also credits as well. So you've got things called reserved instances. So if you were looking at a virtual machine, for example, that is going to be running for the next 3 years or whatever, you can commit to that for a 1-3 year cycle and receive up to kind of a 65-70% discount on that. You can also do a similar action on the Windows licensing side of things as well, through a bring your own license model. So you can purchase the licensing through Klipboard and kind of bring that to Azure and bring down those costs on the licensing side by up to kind of 80-90%. When you start using these options together, you can really manage those environments in terms of their costs and bring down those costs significantly. And again, that is something we work very closely with Klipboard on, making sure that environments are kind of constantly kind of monitored, and ensuring that everything's kind of optimized to its fullest degree at any given point to make sure you are getting the most bang for your buck. Scalability and agility. The key to the cloud, this is what it all came out of the ability is to, scale and be agile and do some wonderful things. And that can be from as simply as, giving you the ability to, spin up additional servers, spin up additional storage, do the very basic things when you need them. And then when you don't need them, if it is a seasonal demand, for example, you can get rid of them straight away afterwards. A great example would be the likes of ASOS, I use them as examples because I know they're on Azure. Seasonal demand in kind of November, December, January during the sales period is huge. They can scale up their resources very, very quickly to deal with that demand. Come February, March, when things start to die down again and go back to regular levels, those resources can come offline again. They're no longer needed. They can turn them off and they're no longer paying for them. And that's all about that dynamic resource scaling. And that can be automatic. It can be manually programmed. It can be as you want it to be to respond to those seasonal demand surges, or alternatively rapid business growth. If you're going through a massive growth, a large new customer for yourselves, you need additional resource. Might be an acquisition journey you're on, bringing in other companies under your umbrella. Your ability to grow your environment is extremely quick and efficient. And the business responsiveness as well. If anything changes in a business, there's always something new on the horizon. Most businesses will have that roadmap of where are we going the next 1, 3, 5, 10 years. And with the cloud, it's easy to plan that in advance and make sure that you have the, not just the raw kind of infrastructure behind you, but how can we be incorporating additional resources such as AI and the data analytics and data management tools to make sure that we match that roadmap. And extremely easy to, once you have that roadmap in place, to have those resources ready to go when you need them. Security and compliance. This is the core of any, most people say that AI is the buzzword at the moment. I would disagree. I would say that security is and always will be the most important conversation to have within any IT conversation. The reason for that being is that an IT system without good security is a bad IT system. No matter what else you put in it, it needs to be secure. It needs to be compliant. Firstly, I would say that, like I said before, Microsoft is a leading global security vendor, and Azure is the only public cloud owned and managed by a security vendor in their own right. And Microsoft Azure also has the highest compliance coverage across kind of global, regional kind of compliance regulatory standards, whether that's from GDPR, ISO, et cetera. There is an entire website dedicated to kind of explaining how and why Azure provides the compliance required to match those. It's an extremely good read if you ever need one. But multi-layered security. Azure provides multi-layered security to safeguard business data against sophisticated cyber threats. So whether that be your very basic kind of your firewalls, your kind of RDP protection, your whatever it is you need in terms of your products and what you need to protect those, Microsoft have products to add on to those. They also have Microsoft Defender, which is a kind of a built-in tool which does threat detection, it does threat prevention, it also does kind of your security posture management as well, showing you where your weaknesses are and how they can be improved all along the way, and within a live dashboard to make it very simple to ensure that you're ticking all the boxes that need to be ticked. From on beyond that, you've also got Sentinel, which is a more advanced kind of monitoring and threat detection for enterprise level customers. This is more looking like a security operations center or SOC within itself as well within Azure. A hugely effective tool, and very widely used across the enterprise landscape for threat detection and prevention. And then regulatory compliance. As I said before, the global, the regional, the nationwide regulatory standards are in place. They're a minefield to keep an eye on whichever industry you're in, but especially within, if you're in the legal or accounting or heavily compliance kind of focused industry. Azure supports those businesses in terms of making sure that those regulatory standards are met for data protection, for privacy, whatever it is you need to be covered. We can kind of bring out the documentation and proof that is being committed to and delivered by Microsoft. So, innovation and integration. So, the process we often look at, and kind of the phrase I give it is migration and then modernization within Azure. So migration be that first step, bringing your resources into the public cloud to give you some ability to look at those cost savings, the efficiencies on that front. But then we want to always be looking at that modernization piece. So what are we looking at there? So firstly, we've got advanced AI and machine learning. Most people's first step in AI at the moment is looking at the likes of ChatGPT, for example, or hopefully Copilot being a Microsoft and a much more secure and compliant tool when it comes to data management. However, within Azure, you've got a whole hotbed of ability to integrate AI systems a much higher and more advanced level. Any AI platform that's available out there is also available via Azure to integrate into your systems, whether that's small pre-built models such as whether it's voice to text or visual kind of recognition tools or anything like that. They have them pre-built models in there, or whether it's utilizing a full platform such as ChatGPT or Llama or whatever it is that you're looking at. The AI Foundry within Azure, as it's called, is a complete library of all those resources that you need to be able to make the most of that. And obviously working with the team at Klipboard and ourselves, and our contacts at Microsoft, we can really help bring to light what is possible within those areas. Analytics, automation, data insights, and enhancing that decision-making processes, and that's a really key kind of ending to that sentence there. Is enhancing your decision-making processes is a great way of phrasing it. Looking at your data and using it properly. It's not the age-old time where we would keep data because we had to. Data is gold now. It is the most value to a company because we have that ability to make the most of it now and really understand what's happening with our businesses. There is an umbrella term called Microsoft Fabric, which is an AI resource which encompasses all previous kind of data analytics and management tools within Azure. And it very much relates and kind of feeds through into Power BI as well for visualization of those data streams. Again, we've got expertise in-house here alongside Klipboard to help support on any of those projects. Should we be looking at kind of advanced data analytics projects? We also have the might of Microsoft behind us as well that love to get involved in these conversations and support and bringing those forward to the forefront of somebody's environment. And then the seamless connectivity piece. Microsoft, they understand the world in terms of people need a fully integrated and easily managed system. Unsurprisingly, most of the world's servers run on Windows 365. So if you've got on-premise environments, unsurprisingly, most of those will be running on Windows, sorry, not 365, on Windows Server software. Microsoft make it very easy to integrate those into Azure when they're migrating, etc. But they also understand that integration piece has to be wider. It has to look across your Microsoft 365 estate, your hybrid clouds, your ERP systems, everything there within one umbrella to make it integrate seamlessly and to work efficiently for your company. Because the last thing you want is having 5 different systems working independently of each other and having to kind of hodgepodge those together to make them kind of communicate and work. The APIs, the integrated systems are very efficient within Microsoft's umbrella to make all that sit together very, very simply. And then the global reach of things. Azure has more data centers than the other 3 big companies put together. So AWS, GCP, and Alibaba. Azure has more data centers than all of those put together. We have 2 in the UK. We have multiple across Europe. We have within pretty much every country in the world, every major country in the world, there is an Azure presence or one very, very nearby. And that gives you the ability, if you are a multinational company, if you want additional resiliency for your data to sit outside of the UK for safety reasons or regulatory reasons or whatever it is, you have complete control over where your data can go and where your systems are going to be located. And you can do that all very easily at the click of a button. High uptime guarantee. The SLAs within Microsoft are higher than any other kind of large hyperscaler. Guarantees 99.95 uptime. On average, there are some systems that guarantee more, but that is their minimum. And that ensures business continuity and minimal service interruptions. It's very, very rare that we ever see a major outage on Azure. I know there has been one recently, but there have been ones across Azure and AWS, etc. But that 99.95 is the best in the market, and will give you that that peace of mind for business continuity. And then following on from that business continuity conversation is looking at that, maintaining global. Enabled enterprises to maintain operations smoothly across global markets. This ties in all of them, whether you're looking at that ability to have worldwide data centers to minimize your latency to your local offices, whether it's looking at that uptime guarantee, whether it's looking at that resilience of your data. How many copies of your data do you want? Where do you want it? What disaster recovery option are we going to have in place here should something go wrong? You have all that available to you at the click of a button via Klipboard and ourselves on Azure to ensure that your infrastructure is protected against any potential issues or any potential kind of malicious attacks, etc., and that you can be back online ASAP should anything go wrong. Sorry, next slide, please. Sorry. So cost optimization with tools. So You've got a multitude of tools out there. Cloud spend monitoring is a very important piece for me. This is my speciality in terms of what I look at outside the technical side, is looking at optimization within cloud environments. There is a number out there which is, 30% of cloud spend is wasted. It's a stat that's thrown around a lot, and I think a lot of people take it seriously. But from what I look at on a day-to-day basis, that fact is not incorrect. Utilizing tools, however, like Umbrella or kind of other tools available to analyze live cloud spending in real time. You can set up budgets, you can set up alerts, you can make sure that you're always looking at the recommended kind of optimization kind of options available to you via, as I said, Klipboard and ourselves will ensure that's being done. Really can bring down that kind of overspend and free up your budgets. That's looking at it from a commercial perspective. You're making sure that your budgets are in hand, your optimization piece, and from the likes of those reserved instances, etc., being done. But also resource usage as well is extremely important. So looking at what you have running and when it is running and how it is running. Have you over allocated on a virtual machine? Is it being underutilized by 50%? Can we downsize that and save some money? Is there certain resources that could be changed to give a more efficient model? Could we move it into a more managed service rather than a kind of an infrastructure as a service model to really bring down those costs, bring in efficiencies, and kind of reduce those unnecessary cloud expenses? And what you can achieve off the back of that is essentially what everybody wants. You want fully efficient system for as little money as you can. And through these optimization tools, you can allow yourselves to have that. And like I said before, this isn't always about saving the money. It's about freeing up the budget for your teams to enable those additional, not want to haves, but often must haves in the likes of security and AI to push your business forward and keep you safe. Sorry, next slide, please. So partners in customer success with those hybrid cloud solutions. So first and foremost, blending on-premise and cloud. Hybrid solutions, as I said before, this is the first message that Microsoft have always gone with from an Azure perspective. On-premise and cloud, it's not one or the other. It's a hybrid approach first for all of us involved, I think, to make sure that you're bringing over what is ready to move to the cloud when it's ready to move to the cloud. It might be half of your infrastructure or one piece of your infrastructure, whatever it is, but then we can roadmap what's happening with the rest of this in the future. And again, that integration between them could be seamless from Azure to any of those other environments. The hybrid cloud also increases operational flexibility. You might have needs for things to be allocated to an on-premise environment, whether that be for kind of extreme security reasons or whether it be for latency reasons, et cetera, et cetera. Your flexibility there is built in to make sure that you can do that. And partners and customers can customize your hybrid cloud strategies to meet exactly what you need. There is no, the confusing piece about the public cloud is that you can do anything with it. The great thing about the public cloud is that you can do anything with it. You can really tailor these to match what your company needs. And the likes of Klipboard, having worked with them for a while now, is they can really help identify what those needs are and how that transformation should and can take place for yourselves to really help you push that forward and make the most. But not just stopping there, but then looking at those next steps of how can we manage this and build this out in the future to improve it even more. And the next slide. So there's a huge amount out there in terms of these options and kind of training, et cetera, et cetera. The migration pathways wise, Azure offers structured migration pathways to help you transition your workload smoothly into the cloud. There's tools built in, there's kind of assessments built in, et cetera, that help you kind of do that. Training programs, you've got the likes of Klipboard and ourselves and everything if you ever need additional information on things, but there is a comprehensive training programs free to everyone via Microsoft for anything to do with the kind of the cloud adoption piece. If you ever need kind of guidance on where to look at this, please do reach out and we can advise. And effective migration and training enables organizations to fully make the most of those cloud capabilities and benefits. Yes, you have the might of Klipboard, you have the might of GeoCom, you have the might of Microsoft behind you to help these, but I would always recommend anybody looking at these migrations from an end customer point is, pick up a bit of training on the area you're looking at and try and understand it, because with that knowledge it gives you great power then to really push forward and kind of understand where these benefits can come from. But again, in the meantime, you have hugely talented team at Klipboard to help you understand those. Next slide, please. And the next again. So what do we talk about in terms of kind of how can Microsoft support you in those journeys? So Microsoft has a number of programs and funding and other things available to help support on each of these. And what we do is working with Klipboard is we make sure that any programs, fundings, kind of incentives that are available will also always be aligned to your business. And I would stress that Klipboard are extremely good at putting the pressure on, should we say, to Microsoft to make sure they get everything they can out of them, which is great to see because Microsoft are always keen to spend those budgets. I'm not going to lie. Firstly, they have pre-built and very efficient solution assessment models, which is going to look at your environments and help kind of assess kind of exactly what you have based on your actual usage. It's not always just needs to be a human looking at it. It can be a fully automated system that can fully funded by Microsoft can go in and kind of assess that environment. We have Microsoft and Klipboard and ourselves on hand at all times to give guidance and kind of context and kind of verbal reckoning around those assessments to understand kind of what the outputs are and how we can migrate those into an effective cloud or hybrid solution. Incentives are also available to help kind of motivate. So when it comes to POC environments, so proof of concept environments, we have funding pots available to help kind of make those possible and kind of remove or reduce the costs on those, but also that initial migration period as well. There's a huge amount of funding and whatnot available from Microsoft and from Geocom, etc., that Klipboard is very good at pulling on to make those as cost efficient as possible to give you the peace of mind that you're getting the best value for your money. So I've jumped the gun a little bit there on the credit access. So yeah, part of this, yeah. So yourself and Klipboard, you can get access to Azure credits to reduce the cost during cloud migration and development. As I said, we'll always make sure that everything that is available from Microsoft or Geocom to help on these projects will always be applied to these. So you can rest easy knowing that that's being done for you. And also, are there any other special programs available? Whether it's the assessment reports that we can provide fully funded by Microsoft, or whether it's any kind of deployment services or special advisory services that Microsoft have available to help kind of bring in those projects to not just from a financial perspective, but from an effectiveness perspective and success perspective as well. So what are we looking to do here? So what we want to do is, we want to be talking to you guys and girls and companies around anywhere to start that conversation around, what can we do to help you embrace cloud technology, to unlock that potential and kind of work collaboratively to help grow your businesses through the use of, the technology available to you, to road mapping that future piece of how we can kind of drive effective collaboration and decent business growth for yourself from the technical advancement and also from the cost efficiencies as well to help you reinvest elsewhere to help grow your business in other areas. And that's what we're looking to achieve here today, really. The next. And yeah, just want to finish off by saying thank you. Thank you for listening. I always relish the chance to speak to customers. It's a rare treat for me dealing with partners most of the time. So I hope that's kind of given some context around what we want to be achieving through the use of a Microsoft Azure platform and the brilliance that is achievable through it. It's a comprehensive platform that can give you some really strong kind of initial and roadmap kind of abilities from a technical perspective, but also really bring in some cost efficiency to help you kind of make the most of your budgets and your abilities internally. And I think I'm going to hand back over to Ian now to run through some more context around that.
Great, thanks, Max. That was really interesting stuff. That was excellent. Thank you. So just to finish off now, here are a few customer testimonials that highlight the value Klipboard and Geocom brings as a managed services provider. And I think these quotes emphasize three key themes, really. One, a trusted partnership. You can see Klipboard as an extension of your business, providing ongoing support and consultancy. Operational excellence. Klipboard enables organizations to build robust, scalable IT platforms that support growth. And then peace of mind. Managed Azure services and Klipboard expertise give IT leaders confidence in security and reliability. So as we mentioned earlier, there are many Microsoft-funded opportunities available right now to you through Klipboard and Geocom's accreditations. These credentials help you unlock access to complementary workshops and funded proof of concept projects, including cybersecurity assessments, co-pilot readiness assessments, security and AI assessments, and those cloud readiness assessments, which Max has just touched on. Please take advantage of these complimentary workshops with us. You can take advantage of these funded activities to explore cloud migration and modernization without upfront investment. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.